What's up guys, Gevirtz here, and today I have 5 steps for you for getting cinematic drone footage. Getting really solid cinematic drone footage isn't that hard. For the most part, you're gonna want to apply the same principles that you would to your regular camera to actually filming with your drone. It's really, at the end of the day, no different than filming with your regular camera. The only difference is that this thing flies. What I'm using today, and what I have been using for the past 2 years, is my DJI Mavic Pro. I know that there has been a second version of this that has come out, but I really don't use my drone enough to justify buying the second version, so this guy's good for right now. I mostly just use it for travel projects. If I ever needed to use a really nice drone on a good project, I'd probably get something like the Inspire 2 or something along those premium type drones. Let me just tell you guys something right now. I grossly underestimated the temperature. It's absolutely freezing cold out here. I'm out here like a doofus in a t-shirt and a shorts, like the typical white guy on the first day of spring. I don't know if you can see my shorts or not, but they're pretty short. So the number one thing that you need to think about when creating a cinematic picture in drone footage is proper exposure settings. Drone footage is no different than any other footage that you're going to film. You need to have your footage at 24 frames per second, and you're going to have your shutter speed double your frame rate in order to get that smooth cinematic motion. So if you take a look at your settings here, I'm in manual. Make sure you're in manual. I have my ISO all the way down because obviously it's like a bright, super sunny day and there's a lot of light coming into the sensor of the drone. Going to camera, video size, we see that we're shooting at 4K at 24 frames per second, and because we're shooting at 24 frames per second and we want to double our frame rate to get our shutter speed, if we go over to our shutter here, you can see that I have it at 1/50th, which is close enough to double our shutter speed in this particular instance. And so profile wise, I'm shooting in log. The reason I want to shoot in log is because it's going to give me the most dynamic range out of the sensor. It's going to balance out the highlights and the shadows a little better and make it more comparable to what a cinema camera would capture. So I'm going to land this because it's running out of battery. So the second thing to get cinematic footage out of your drone is something that so many people forget to do with their drone for some reason, but they always remember to do it with their actual camera. And that is that you need to put a neutral density filter on your drone. Because we're shooting at 24 frames per second and we want to keep our shutter speed low at 50 to double our frame rate, we're going to be letting a ton of light into our sensor, and the only way to block out that light is to use ND filters. So as you can see right now, it's like a very sunny day, and if I didn't have my ND filter on, all my highlights would be super blown out because I'm shooting at such a low shutter speed, and again, there's so much light coming into my sensor. So as you can see here, there's a little ND filter right on the front of the lens on my drone. Look at these little guys. So the filters that I'm putting on the front of my drone are Polar Pro filters that I got for I think like 80 bucks, so they weren't super expensive. It's a pack of 3, and they come in different stops of ND, and they're super easy to use. You just clip it onto the front camera of your drone, and it just cuts out all that extra light that's coming into the sensor of the drone, so you can get that nice cinematic smooth motion that you're gonna get at 24 frames per second. So my third tip for getting cinematic drone footage is by using simple movements. For the most part, drones are going to be establishing shots. They're gonna show you where you are in your story, and you don't need crazy dynamic shots for establishing shots. Oh man, that sun is coming out hot out of nowhere. It was like a soft key light when it was behind the cloud, but now it's a little, oh, there it goes again. It'll probably come back out, but we're just gonna continue to roll with it. Can't see now, I'm blinded. So my favorite drone moves are going to be very simple. It's going to be a slow push in. It's going to be a slow pull out, or it's going to be some kind of shot where you're orbiting around the subject. A shot that I see a lot that I find doesn't work a lot is if you're filming and just having your drone rise higher and higher and higher without it pushing forward or moving backwards. My fourth tip for getting cinematic drone footage is to have something in your foreground. Create depth within your image. It's the same way you're going to create depth when you're filming with a regular camera. Usually you want something kind of in the foreground, something in the middle ground, and something in the foreground. I'm gonna move the camera because the sun is hot on my face. So yeah, having stuff in your foreground is going to give your viewer perspective of the drone's movement. It's going to show how fast it's going. It's going to show how big the world is around the drone. Have your drone fly through something, past trees, have it fly past rocks. So having something in your foreground of your drone footage is gonna give you that depth and gonna give you a more cinematic look. So my 5th tip for getting good cinematic drone footage is to color grade it. A lot of people don't take the time to color grade their drone footage, and it's crazy to me. Color grade it exactly how you would color grade any other shot. So this is why we wanted to shoot in log in the first place, because it's gonna give us the flattest image, the most dynamic range in our image, and kind of let us push our grade to the furthest point possible. Typically what I've noticed is in drone footage, especially on the cheaper end, like the DJI Mavic Pro, which is what I have, I found that the image comes out super harsh and kind of sharp. And for the most part, drone footage doesn't have very nice highlight roll off, and there's kind of just your blacks and then your highlights, even when you're shooting in log. So what I like to do is kind of dial down my highlights a ton, kind of deepen my blacks, deepen my shadows a little bit, and kind of bring everything a little more darker, a little more moodier. That's also just kind of generally how I like to color grade in the first place. So yeah, definitely make sure you're color grading your drone footage. Don't just post like the flat profile or whatever profiles coloring that you're gonna get out of the drone. Also, everyone say hello to Sansa. She came and filmed with me today. This is my doggy. She's an 11-month-old red lab. She's really big for a puppy. She weighs 80 pounds. Say hi. Say hi, everyone. So I know I kind of just like grazed over everything and didn't go into super close detail on every single tip, but this for the most part is for beginners, just to get your start, just like trying to figure out how to get the best image possible out of your drone right now. So hopefully that was helpful for you guys, and thanks for watching. So yeah, see you later guys.